Hello and welcome to Mountain Aromatics, how to make accords. So a lot of you have been kind of wondering and asking, I would love to know how to make accords. How do you do that? And that is not an easy question to answer. It can be incredibly basic. There's definite intermediate and there's definitely advanced. So today I am going to go over basics of making accords, because honestly, making accords is at minimum a 12-hour class, and it truly is a class. It's just not simple. But then I can try to make it very simple, and that's what I'm going to try to do today, is make this simple. So here we go. So let's just say that you are wanting to make a sandalwood accord. Well, and I feel like I'm going to be so basic here, but I just am. And then I'll go into a little bit of intermediate stuff. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to just simply get some materials that are sandalwoods and put them out here. And I got Furstenthal. And I just made this up. So this is not like a formula, whatever, but this accord could be 2 of them put together. It could be 25 of them put together. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. You can have however many in there that you want. But so I just grabbed some sandalwoods, like Furstenthal, F-A-R-S-A-N-T-O-L, Adrane, A-N-D-R-A-N-E, Dartonol, Sandoxol, Ebonol, Sandella, Sandalif, and Brahmanol. Okay, so I just grabbed them in no particular order, and there's no reason I grabbed any of them other than they are sandalwoods. So what you can do now that you have just straight sandalwoods are, okay, they're all a little different, so let's think about them. The Brahmanol is used for sandalwood accords to give a softening and a creamy effect, and it is a little woody. So take that into consideration. Your Furstenthal is milky, it's really long-lasting, very creamy, so it's pretty similar, not quite as nutty, but pretty similar to the Brahmanol. So what I'm doing is I'm just going through each one of these, evaluating them for their material properties. So what do you want your sandalwood to be like? That's what I'm kind of doing. The Adrane is a precious wood of ambergris, tobacco, clear wood, and sandalwood. So this one is less like your typical sandalwood. So very ambergris-like. So that might be something, hey, yeah, I think I'm going to add that to it. Maybe I'll put a little bit less of that so I can back it up a little bit. Dartonol. Dartonol is a very light and creamy but very long-lasting sandalwood. So you want to smell, has kind of a frankincense aroma. So just something to think about. So that's all I'm doing, is I'm just, to make a simple sandalwood accord, I'm just going through, picking sandalwoods out and giving them a try. And do I want this in my sandalwood accord that I'm making? Like Sandella is a great one because it's very rich and sweet and smooth. And when you create this, you're going to need to let it sit and definitely develop over time. And Sandella is one of those materials that takes a long time to develop. that means it's very long lasting, and it is. It's pretty amazing. That's a great one. I would definitely say if you're going to do a sandalwood accord, that's a pretty definite one you want to put in there, is the Sandella. So that is what I would just add that to the thing. And let's see, Sandoxol. Sandalwood, sweet, creamy, very diffusive, powerful, woody, and you can be like, yeah, it's too top notey almost smelling, although it's not a top note, I get it. But it's very light and diffusive. I don't want light and diffusive in my sandalwood, so just take it away. But you can just put everything out here and kind of go through what you like and what you don't like to make up your sandalwood. Ebonol. Ebonol is going to be diffusive as well, but ebonol is going to be, to me, it has a tinge of vanilla in the background. Very sweet. If you do not want your sandalwood to be sweet, you don't want to add ebonol, or you want to add just a tiny fraction of ebonol to give it a tiny bit of sweetness, because sandalwood does have sweetness to it. But ebonol is very, very sweet. So that's why I'm like, that's why you want to consider all of your sandalwoods that you want, because this one is very, very sweet. And if you don't want that, you can either not add it or add just a tiny drop of it to your formula, creating your sandalwood accord. And then Sandalif. Sandalif is a very woody, creamy, milky, yet clean sandalwood. And this one I would recommend. It's just doing this, and then so you can have in your accord, it's just straight sandalwood and nothing else. So all just pure sandalwood materials. Or you could also, if you wanted to add some Herculean D to give it even more longevity, you could do that. Although most of these are at 400 hours, except for like the Sandalif is at 48 hours. The Adrain is 96 hours. But most of the rest of them are about 400 hours. But that's something you could do, because let's say you create your formula and you smell it and you're like, oh, it's a little too strong, and you want to smooth it out and make it not as strong and in your face. Add a little bit of Herculean D, and that can help, because there's almost no aroma to Herculean D. It still has that longevity, is a blender, pulls everything together and makes it cohesive, that type of thing. So honestly, that's like basics of creating an accord, because what you're trying to do, an accord is all these different notes in harmony being sung or played together, like on a piano, like ding, and it's all notes that harmonize together and create one sound. You're creating the beautiful sound of sandalwood in a cohesive melody that is beautiful. So that's what you're doing with this sandalwood. So that's basics, okay? Because you could go, oh, I want to create a vanilla sandalwood, okay? Because now you're getting a little bit more complex, and you can do that. I have a vanilla sandalwood accord that I make. So this is where these are your sandalwoods, and you're gonna get your vanillas. Let's say you use vanilla acetate and ethyl vanillin. Ethyl vanillin, if you don't have ethyl vanillin and you like your vanillas, you need to get ethyl vanillin. You need to get ethyl vanillin. You just do. It is really, really nice. I like it better than vanillin. I just do. Like, I do personally. To me, it is more complex. It is more vanilla bean-like with all of those complexities and nuance and facets of vanilla. So I prefer the vanillin, the ethyl vanillin. So you would just take some different vanillins or vanillas. You could add a vanilla tincture. Like I have a vanilla tincture that I made, and I could add that as well. So now you're creating a vanilla sandalwood tincture. Hi from Germany. Yay, good to see all of you guys here. I'm just trying to be really focused on this because otherwise I'm going to just look up here and get distracted and go to other places, and I don't want to do that. I want to be like focused in. So, but hello to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. You could be anywhere and you're here with me, and I appreciate it. So that's how you can be crazy simple. I just want to create a sandalwood accord. Oh, I want to create a vanilla sandalwood accord. And that's how you would do it. You're just going to look at all the vanillas that you have and decide from those 1 or 5 of those that you want to put together. And then you're creating a vanilla sandalwood that when you place those keys together or hit all those notes together, it creates one harmonious sound and blends well together. They're not hitting different notes that are these dissonant chords that don't work and don't sound good together and are off pitch and whatever. That is where you kind of change your formula to where it sounds good together. Those notes play well together. That's what you're wanting to do with creating an accord. That is the, if you do any questions, please do ask about basics of the chords, because there is intermediate and there is advanced, and that's why this is so difficult for me doing a video on accords, because it is a class. It's a class. It could be an easy 2-day or a week long class, 5 hours a day, easily, because it just can get so complex. But anyway, that's a great example of how you would put an accord together. So that is, I mean, I don't know what else to say except for, you know, it's the same thing. You could be like, oh, I want to make a simple rose accord. Okay, you're just going to get your Damascal 4. You're going to get a Moroccan rose absolute. You're going to get your Turkish rose absolute. You're going to get phenyl ethyl alcohol, PEA. You're going to get that. You're going to get all the different like rose aromas, geranium rose, all of those kinds of things like that. And when you've laid them all out, you're going to smell them and kind of figure out how this can be meshed together to create a rose accord. That's simplistic. That's simple, and that's definitely where you want to start if you've not created an accord before. You want to start really simple that way, because you can get into really crazy, difficult stuff that takes a while to do. Like, I want to create a rose accord based off GCMs reports. That's a lot of research. I mean, it's research. It's going to take you time and that kind of stuff. So you're going to need to know, and is the GCSM report from the Headspace or not? And then just all of that kind of stuff. So you can quickly get into complex stuff where you're going to need a lot of materials, and you're going to need very, very specific materials if you're going to create that rose accord. a complex rose accord from scratch. That's what I'm talking about. He says, by the way, for vanilla bean, think of combining ethyl vanillin, vernaldehyde, and resins, especially Peru balsam and benzoin. Especially Peru balsam is very important in my opinion. The Peru balsam, so there is Peru balsam essential oil, and then there's Peru balsam olefac, which is a aroma chemical, and they are very, very warming. They will bring a warmness to your formula. For those of you who don't know, just throwing it out there. Pretty clean, but very, very warming. So, and yeah, for the vanilla part over here, you could do the ethyl vanillin, the vernaldehyde, and the Peru balsam, and the benzoin. Benzoin, I love. For me, for the vanilla aroma, I really love the benzoin. It's really, really nice. It is definitely a fixative, for sure. It's a fixative. Your Peru balsam, you're going to say it's a fixative too. Absolutely, it's a fixative as well, for sure. Well, the Peru balsam, I'm not sure if it's an oleo resin or a true essential oil or a resin. I'm gonna have to. Now you're gonna make me have to check. So hold on. Yeah, what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's an essential oil. The Peru balsam. It's called balsam of Peru oil. It is an essential oil. And it is steam distilled from, mine is the part of the plant. Here's where you're like, no, it's a resin. Yes, they take that resin and they steam distill it so it becomes an essential oil from the resin. Absolutely. Yes. It is. They'll take that resin and they will steam distill it, and it becomes the essential oil of Peru balsam from the resin. And I'm sure you can buy the resin by itself, and then it's a resinoid. But they take that resinoid and they created what I got from Eden Botanicals into a steam distilled essential oil from El Salvador, and it is a wild crafted. So yeah, it's wild crafted. So this essential oil will have more of a, definitely more of a smoky aroma than your Peru balsam olefac. I think that's from IFF, but your more, I guess, crude, more natural balsam of Peru is going to be pretty smoky, vanilla, complex, way more complex than your olefac. Can you say maybe how the essential oil is different from the resinoid? Yeah, very simply. So the resinoid is just going to be the resin in its original state. And I'm not sure if that resin, because all resins are different, but this like frankincense and myrrh is a like rock resin, very, very hard. And you can hit it with a hammer and it will like shatter. And some resins are like my fir balsam resin is drippy and runny. And when it's cold, it can harden a little bit, but you can slightly move it. If you push it really, really hard, it moves a little bit. And in the warmth, it will kind of liquefy some, and that is a pure resin. And I am not sure how hard or soft the Peru balsam is in its resin state, but they will take that resin, and when it is steam distilled What comes over is the oil that is steam distilled. So a lot of the fats, esters, waxes, all that kind of stuff is left behind. And what you're left with is a cleaner smelling essential oil of the Peru balsam. So Peru balsam resin. The resin, I can guarantee you, is going to be even more complex and hardcore smelling it than the essential oil, because when that happens with the essential oil, all those esters, wax, fats, all that kind of stuff is left over. The esters and waxes and that type of stuff is left over, and then what you have is the pure essential oil. So it's cleaner, but that's going to be the difference. Oh, I mean, in terms of smell for the Peru balsam, well, with the smell, the two different smells are going to be, any essential oil is going to be cleaner and less complex than an absolute CO2 or resin. It just is going to be more complex, than the other essential oils are going to be cleaner, because only certain stuff comes over through steam distillation. I hope that helps. I've been struggling to create a sweetgrass accord. I've used tobacco absolute, hay absolute, tonka bean absolute, and I'm missing a green note. It doesn't quite smell like true sweetgrass. So what you can do, we're going to go right into more complex, and that would be type in sweetgrass GCMS report in Google and look for your GCMS reports. That is where it gets to be complex. That if you're struggling and you don't know something's missing, you need to go to those reports. And sometimes, once you get the report, find out is it from the headspace or is it not from the headspace, and you're kind of want, because you can get one from the headspace and one not, and you're going to have different amounts of different components, different materials that are in there. So that's what you're going to need to do. And yeah, that's what you'll need to do, Corey. It can be, so I'll kind of go into it. It's kind of like, oh, I want to make a tuberose accord. Okay, that's complex. It's very complex. It's not that easy, and you're going to have a lot of different materials, because if you're going to do it from scratch, it's going to be difficult. You're going to want to get GCMS reports on tuberose, and you can find those on the internet, and a lot of them you're going to have to pay for, and they can be expensive. But there are some out there that you can, if you dig, you can find for free. The government has a lot of GCMS reports, and they'll be for different things, but you still can use it because it's still a GCMS report. So the government has a lot of that stuff as well. But let's say, like with tuberose and making tuberose, there's some definite things you want that you're going to have if you're going to make a tuberose, and that is methyl and fluorite. You have to have that if you're going to make a tuberose. Another one is benzyl benzoate. Like it's gonna require you doing research. That is totally different than what I did with you today here, making a simple accord. That's why doing this video is, I don't know, somewhat, not that bad, but somewhat frustrating, because I'm like, oh my God, that's such a massive question of how do I make an accord? So I just have to make it super simplistic, and this is where you start. Is just grab all your sandalwoods, smell each one, what did they do? There you go. So yeah, you just start simple and build it together, and then you could go to the hardcore place of, I want to make a tuberose accord from scratch. It's going to take time. They're not easy to do. But the other thing I will tell you is that places that sell essential oils, let's say lavender essential oil, you could go onto a place that sells lavender essential oil, and they will have the GCMS report, and you will be able to view it or sometimes even download it, and you can go through and see all the components that that specific batch has, because the GCM report from Italy, from France, they're going to be different. They're going to have slightly different levels of each thing. But you will still, if you get a bunch of reports, you're going to see very similarities, and you'll be able to write down lavender. These are the main components that I'm going to have in the lavender, blah, blah, blah. So that's what you do. That's how you start with complex, true, more difficult accords. That's kind of how it's done. So, so that's how you do the simple accords. So I hope this has been helpful for you, and I'm sure it is going to spur many, many questions, because it's hard to put all this together. It's a class. It's a week-long class, 5 hours a day, to give you everything I want to give you. It just is difficult. So thank you so much for being here. I hope this is helpful. If this is a great learning class for you and you would like to give even just $1, you are welcome to do that at patreon.com/mountainaromatics. And I put a number of things there. There's different tiers for how much you give, and I give away samples and formulas, like entire formulas, every single month. You can check that out. Again, it's patreon.com/mountainaromatics. And hopefully you learned some stuff today, and obviously you don't have to memorize all this. You can just watch this video again. And I hope you guys have a good day. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, come and join us and just subscribe, and I will see you on the next Mountain Aromatics. Have a good day.